This video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. What's up guys, this is Coach Donnie from Elevate Yourself, where we create unique content about volleyball, training, coaching, and HAIKYUU. For those who don't know me, I actually studied animation and illustration for 3 years at the university level with the intention of going into that industry before deciding to become a high school art teacher. I'm also a volleyball coach and competitive player, so hopefully my diverse background and experience will provide a unique perspective for all of you HAIKYUU fans out there. As we patiently wait for Season 5 to come out, I decided to react to the manga to dive a little deeper into the story and explore the amazing artwork, which is something that many of you have suggested for a while. Don't forget to watch all my HAIKYUU reaction videos from all 4 seasons, link in the description box below. Special thanks to the fans who recommended the format for reacting to the manga, where to legally purchase and view the manga, and what to expect in terms of the storytelling and artwork. I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous going into this video because this is my first time reacting to any manga comic book, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. HAIKYUU Volume 1. I'm still a little confused as to why they have HAIKYUU with 2 U's and then 1 U, and then also a U with a line over it communicating it's a long U. Let's read this here. Someone said that I should try to read it out loud because I won't always be able to show the images due to the copyright restrictions, and it also helps people follow along with the story. So any feedback you have for making these manga reaction videos better for you guys, I'm all for it. Let me know. Thank you for picking up HAIKYUU Volume 1. I hope you like it. For those who are like, volleyball, I never played it. I don't even know the rules. As you guys know from watching the anime, they do such an excellent job of explaining the rules and using live gameplay of the animations to explain that. So very good teaching tool. I hope to make this a story full of fun and great characters you enjoy and who will make you want to say, I want to root for these guys. Who is this person here? Is that the fat bird that flies in the halftime show? Because it doesn't look pretty fat here. Or maybe a word from the creator. Haruichi Furudate began his manga career when he was 25 years old with the one-shot Ousomo King Kid, which won an honorable mention for the 14th Jump Treasure Newcomer Manga Prize. Is that the manga that was a horror genre? Because I know a lot of you were commenting during the HAIKYUU reaction videos that he first started off as a horror genre manga. In 2012, he began serializing HAIKYUU in Weekly Shonen Jump, where it became his most popular work to date. I love this pre-summary. I'm actually enjoying this so far, and I haven't even gotten to the manga yet, but just reading some of these tidbits. And I remember watching the anime and like feeling rushed to try to quickly understand what's going on because I didn't want to miss any of the visuals, and then trying to read the subtitles. But now I can actually take my time. Hopefully not too much time, because I think because one of you suggested that I should be doing 4 volumes or chapters. I don't know how to organize in a row per video. Keep it around 20 minutes. We'll see. I tend to really take my time, so. Well, let's just enjoy this cover art here. One thing I've always loved about Japanese art for video games and manga is that traditional watercolor style. And if you notice this compared to the American comics styles are bolder colors with thicker lines and flatter colors. And they don't usually have that washed out look that many of the Japanese artwork has. And I'm always going to reference Street Fighter because that's one of my favorite video games of all time. But some of the original Street Fighter artwork also has that thin line outlook, but the beautiful blending of these organic colors. I mean, even if you zoom here, we have the orange, so you're gonna have the different colors for the wrinkles of the jerseys, but at the same time you have like a little bit of a translucence from the watercolor style, and even the skin tones here. Let's look at Hinata's leg. So you see the musculature that's not described with a actual black line. And going back to the jersey here, we have such a variety of grays and blacks, and it's an organic variety, meaning, I mean, they probably did like digital watercolor. I highly doubt they do traditional watercolor anymore. That would just be way too time consuming and expensive. But I'm sure with the algorithm of the watercolor brush effect, when they put the brush down, they probably have some type of algorithm or equation that predicts the path of the water and how it blends together. And so they're able to really capture that very well here. Even on the mouth of Hinata, we have a dark red brownish color. Is that what it looks like on my mouth? But similar concept, when you have light shining through the cheek, it's going to turn red or orange there. Man, look at this incredible detail of the shoe. We have the texture of the Mishuno, A6, I forgot which brand they're trying to emulate. But this is exactly what the shoe looks like. You see these ridges here, and this gel technology, this is what allows the A6 volleyball shoes to be very grippy on the court. Probably one of the best tractions of all volleyball shoes here. I just noticed this, story and art by Haruichi Furudate. So he was the one that also illustrated it as well as told the story and played volleyball. That's incredible that he was able to, I mean, that's probably why it's so cohesive, because it's an all-in-one package. And I never seen this title for HAIKYUU. Notice this little ball at the end, which is the same pattern as the molten green and white ball that you sometimes see in the anime. Man, I already spent like 5 or 6 minutes just on the intro screen, and I don't even think this is part of the anime here. Let's read the first page. Oh, okay, I think someone in the comments said this is read from right to left. Thanks for the reminder, because I was trying to press right arrow, but I actually should be pressing left arrow. HAIKYUU Volume 1, Shonen Jump Manga Edition. Translation by Adrian Beck. I remember someone reading in the comments that there's different English dialects, so hopefully this is catered towards the North American English dialect. First published in 2012. This is an older manga. So far, the artwork looks similar to the anime, and especially the first season, there's some really great animations there. Endings and beginnings. I wonder if they adapted any of these chapter titles to the episode titles here, but it looks like they got chapters within a single volume. Okay, we got the Karasuno feather. I really like this little angle. I just realized it's supposed to be like a spike or serve, because you have this explosion here and then the path of the ball. Did I accidentally purchase a black and white version? I hope it only comes in black and white, or man, it's been so long since I've read manga that maybe they all come in black and white because color is just too expensive. Alright, so I think I'm supposed to read from top right to left. HAIKYUU, also known as volleyball, the two teams separated by a net bounce, a ball back and forth between each other. The ball is not allowed to touch the floor, it cannot be carried. Once it is in the air, a team has no more than 3 touches to connect. Such an interesting word that they use, connect, even in the anime as a way to describe keeping the ball alive. We call it rallying, at least in the US. And take the ball from receive to attack. I wonder who these players are. I actually don't recognize them. Maybe they're supposed to be just some generic volleyball players, but I'm sure some of you hardcore fans can identify these people. A wall looms in front of me. Ooh, that gives me chills. That just gives me flashbacks all the way from season 1. Just kind of that sound, that moment. A tall wall. What's the view like over that wall? What will I see beyond it? Oh, I like how they have Hinata off the storyboard borders so that he's not restricted within this, but he's narrating this whole 3-part, I don't know if, I forgot what you call this, but you know how they separate it into these shapes here. Man, my illustration knowledge is already forgotten, but we'll just call it sections. And what's cool about the sections is usually you try to read them in some type of order to keep the chronological order in sync. But the technique of keeping Hinata above these sections means that applies to all 3 sections. So he's thinking these things as time is progressing. The view from the top. It's something I could never ever see on my own. Actually, no, it looks like they do tell it from here to here. But maybe, just maybe, if I wasn't alone. Oh, tump. those sounds, I remember someone referencing onomatopoeias, which is the English definition of onomatopoeia is a verbal, a literal spelling of what it sounds like. So tum tum tum, TMP or TMD, that's the sound of shoes hitting the floor. Another huge flashback of when all the players are running up to the baseline and having that as part of the engagement, like sucking the viewer in to the moments of volleyball practice. Man, I've only been on pages 4 and 5, and actually this is way more engaging than I thought it was. I thought it was just going to be me reading and then trying to have some type of reaction, but I love it. I might be able to see it. Chapter 1, endings and beginnings. Let's enjoy this centerfold here. Alright, my mind is always fixated on Street Fighter, but I'm sure so many other video games have this, but it's like those Darkstalkers or Street Fighter where they're kind of all charging in one direction. This kind of reminds me of Sakura from Street Fighter Alpha, and then you have all these other characters that are pushing along and charging along. Then you got the main characters, Ken and Ryu. Interesting that Nishinoya is licking his tongue, probably because he's waiting for a dig. This is an odd transition centerfold. I don't know how, if it's supposed to be read across, but it's a funny transition from Tanaka's head to here. Maybe they couldn't scan it correctly, or maybe this is before they had digital mangas and they had to scan the pages. But beautifully painted. Even in digital watercolor, it's actually hard to get your edges clean. In illustration, it's all about your edges. We talked about how Japanese style manga, you're not going to describe things with a black line. In my opinion, describing form and transitions, like from the jaw to the neck, with a black line is a lot easier than to describe it with just purely different values of color. And here we don't see color, but we do see different types of grays. And look at that, you have this light whitish, like opaque line to separate the shadow and the curvature of the jawline here. So this is some skill. And even look at that, around the volleyball we have a white glow. Now I don't think this was made in Photoshop where you can easily add a white glow. I think he just has very good control of these edges to help the volleyball stand out, because if you didn't, then this value, which is the light and dark of a color, is going to be very similar to this value, so they easily blend in. And yes, he does have a thin black line, but this white glow does help separate some of that. And going back to Shimizu, this is like the most action I've seen her. She looks like she's a fighter. Oh, look at this. Asahi with his arms back. I've only seen Hinata with his arms back like he's a flying Karasuno crow. And look at this crow. This little beak is kind of... Oh, that's the edge of the wing. Karasuno High School, in the next town over from mine, qualified for the National High School Spring Volleyball Tournament on a court filled with players towering over 6 feet tall, which is actually still generally pretty tall even for high school. There stood a single athlete at a mere 5'7" tall, and we know who they're talking about, the little giant. I clearly remember standing there watching. So I'm assuming this is Hinata narrating the moment. That's so cool. So we see the TV screen here and then Hinata's face in a reflection. That's really difficult to do. Actually, we have 3 levels here. So we have the TV screen of the little giant about to spike, and one technique you're going to see very often in illustration is to separate the figure from the background, because you want to communicate the hierarchy of important information. So in this TV screen, what's the most important piece of information? It's the body of the little giant, right? Not the audience, not the net. So you want the little giant figure to be standing out the most, and then you create a white glowing outline to help him pop forward, but also to separate the less important information, which is the net and the background. Secondly, you have Hinata's hair of the head here looking at the screen, and the way you make something pop forward even more and show up in front of the foreground in terms of the depth perception is you add a bold line. Anything that has a thick line will always come to the front in terms of what your eye sees. So now we know that Hinata is very front, looking at a TV screen. And then the third layer is the reflection. Now reflections are so hard to do because sometimes glass and TV screens, they might not always be flat. They might be curved, and then you also have a bunch of glare shapes over it. And what's even more difficult is you have to draw the reflection over existing images from the TV screen. So look at this great way of blending in Hinata's head with the net. This guy knows his stuff. I wonder if he went to school to study this or if he was self-taught, because these are some textbook techniques. Shivering in awe as the little black-clad athlete scored point after point. So Little Giant was unstoppable here. Now it's time for our halftime snack time from our video sponsors, Sakurako and Tokyo Treat, which are monthly subscription services where you get authentic Japanese snacks delivered straight to your door every month. And each month includes a different theme with a different variety of yummy snacks and drinks. First, let's see what's inside the Tokyo Treat box, which is a more modern selection of Japanese snacks. This box is filled with limited edition and exclusive pop culture snacks found in Tokyo's #1 spot for all things manga, anime, and electronics Akihabara, such as the Autumn Chestnut Kit Kats, Mystery Flavor Fanta, and Puku Puku Lemon Tea Taiyaki. One thing I love from Tokyo Treat is every month you get a different flavor of Kit Kats. At first I thought this was onion. I thought, what would an onion flavored Kit Kat taste like? But it was actually chestnut. And even if it was onion, I've not had a bad Kit Kat from Tokyo Treat, so that would have been interesting anyway. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Just smells like a little bit of vanilla. Let's see what the chestnut tastes like. If you like chestnut and a little bit of white chocolate and vanilla, you're gonna like this one. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but I chose this one because of the character. My guess is going to be a salty snack because there's a little corn icon there. Corn, sweet corn maybe. It is a sweet corn. I've had other versions of this in the previous Tokyo Treat boxes. This is so yummy. It's a little bit on the saltier side, but it still has some sweetness. And Fanta is another popular brand. I think this is a mystery flavor. I don't know if I want to say what the flavor tastes like because I want you guys to try and see what you can guess the mystery flavor is. When you open a Japanese soda, the carbonation pops a little differently than the ones we have in the US. Usually the ones in the US have a tss, but this one's like a short pop. Smells fruity. Another thing I love about the Fanta sodas that you get from Japan is that they're not so sweet, and the carbonation almost has like smaller bubbles where it doesn't make you burp, it just makes you, it just kind of goes up your nose in a good way, like a refreshing way. I think I know what it is, but I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to enjoy the surprise yourself. Now we'll see what's inside the box from Sakurako, which is a more traditional selection of Japanese snacks. We gotta try this autumn themed cookie. Look at that, beautiful with a little handle there. Kind of reminds me of like a gingerbread cookie. Wow, look at that beautifully painted design. Let's hear the crunch. Way crunchier than I thought. It's like a more toasted version of a fortune cookie. Luckily this one's in English. It's a type of mochi, and for you guys who've been following me for a while, I love my mochi, especially the ones straight from Japan. I do notice that the ones that are from Japan are just extra soft, and the flavors are a little bit more natural. That mochi is so squishy. Wow. Cannot beat the texture. I'm still trying to figure out what the flavor is. All I know is it tastes good, it's a little bit sweet, and it's got some texture inside. Let's try one more time. Almost like a red bean flavor. I love my octopus taco. I don't know if this is a cookie or if it's like dried octopus like they have for Chinese snacks. Ooh, okay, it's just more like a cookie here. Gotta smell it. Ooh, super fishy. You don't want your clothes to smell like this, but you want your food to smell like this. Wow. If you like shrimp chips or seafood flavored chips, this is definitely for you. Super crunchy. If you want to enjoy your own Tokyo Treat and Sakurako snacks, then use my discount code and link in the description box to get $5 off your first order so you can enjoy your Japanese snacks while reading the HAIKYUU manga with me. Plus, I get a small commission from every purchase you make, and all that money goes directly back into making better content for all of you. So thank you so much for your support. Sakurako invites you to experience Japanese autumn with their Colors of Koyo snack box. This box will be filled with autumnal sweets made by our beloved Japanese local makers. Inside, you will find momiji or Japanese maple leaf shaped snacks like momiji manju and momiji cookie, walnut mochi, and a lot of savory snacks as well, like hand-grilled taco senbei and spiced arare. Roughly 3 years and 3 months later, so we're fast forwarding. Who is this spiking? Is that Aone? Looks like white hair. Batam! I'm gonna add some energy to these onomatopoeias. Okay, look at this arm. So let's break down some of the volleyball technique. One thing I always try to emphasize: to develop more spiking power, one way is through speed, right? In volleyball, power is about speed. You do need strength, but when you add speed to strength, you get power. And too oftentimes people only focus on the strength aspect, so they get really tense. But when you're spiking, you gotta keep your arm really relaxed so that you can swing as fast as you can, like a whip. And the goal is try to finish your entire swing all the way through before you land on the ground. And that usually tricks the body to swing as fast as you can. So you see this hitter here, he's swinging his arm all the way back. And look at this whoosh shape here. This is difficult to do. You trying to show so many layers. One, you want to make sure that you feel the noise, so you got the thick black letters of the batam, and then you also have the depth perception where you have the finishing of the swing. You see how kind of arm is like back like that, but then you also want to show movement in a still image, and one way to do that is through making the edges of the character a little bit scratchy, so you see the hair and the arms. So whenever you don't have like defined lines, usually that communicates movement, kind of like a blur effect. And then you also, to emphasize that power, you show the path of the arm. You literally show it, and then also you draw the sound. Isn't that strange that you can draw the sound and people know exactly what you're doing? And then let's look at the reaction of the people around them. Everyone's mouths open. Looks like this person's impressive. Nice kill. Nice kill. City Gymnasium, middle school interscholastic sports tournament, boys volleyball. Look at all the people. The gym's so big. Okay. Tum tum tum. And smell all that icy hot spray. What Hinata is referring to is icy hot or Bengay or any type of numbing agent or something to make your skin warmer. You're gonna smell that for sure at any sports event where people are a little bit serious, because when you're dealing with injuries, you're just trying to make sure your body is feeling good so you can play well. It just smells like Asian medicine. Shoyo Hinata, Yukikaoka, middle school, 3rd year, volleyball club captain. Grip. Grip, like he's pulling on the strap. Does the backpack actually do? I have a backpack right here. Let's see if that makes that sound. Ready? Alright, I want to know in the comments, would you put GRP for that sound? I'll tell you what I think maybe if I remember in the next video, but I was curious how you would spell that onomatopoeia. Geez, Sho-chan, nervous much? Okay, the slang is actually pretty custom to North America. Nervous much? Smell the icy hot spray, seriously? Hey, is that can't be Bokuto, it's too early. I can't help it. This is my first real tournament. Does somebody have stage fright? So they're picking on Hinata here. Alright, I gotta read from right to left. Gotta get used to how manga panels. My 3rd year and I finally Queen, is that another onomatopoeia? Queen, maybe that's like the shimmer, like a ching. No kidding, I'm shocked he actually made it this far. Didn't he start as the only team member? Wow, so if he's been part of the team for 3 years and he's the only team member, that's some dedication. Yeah, he really hung in there all by himself. Captain, shouldn't we warm up? So these are the volleyball club first year, so those are the, let's see, if Japan, they have 7th, 8th, 9th, and then high school is 10, 11, 12, so 7th graders here. He's right, Captain. Don't you have a job to do? Yukitaka Izumi, 3rd year, is that actually in the basketball club, or actually in the basketball club. I love this pacing. I get to learn the names of his middle school teammates, and I just had no idea what their names were or their backgrounds. So we got a basketball player on the team, Koji Semimukai, 3rd year, actually in the soccer club team. Okay, so he's not the smart, he's recruiting athletes from other sports. I do that as a coach too. And I love it when we got girls basketball players trying to play some girls volleyball, because they're aggressive, they're athletic, they're physical, and they're just tougher. It's not like you gave us much notice. Yeah, for this. We barely know any of the rules. I know. I don't know how I'm just getting into character. Maybe that's just like the teacher storytelling of me, or maybe this is just all my animation training. We finally made it into a tournament, and now we're in it. We're gonna win it. Huh? We're a cobbled together team of total rookies, and you think we'll win? Duh. Of course I do. So duh, that's another great North American adaptation. I know we have a lot of international fans watching this, but when someone says duh, it's like, of course or obviously. Where does he get all that optimism? Izumin Koji. I don't know if that's the name, if someone said Izumin Koji, or if that's a phrase that I'm missing here. Thanks for being here today. It means a lot to me. And we got the facial reactions of the basketball and soccer club team. I don't know if the exclamation mark is like anger or surprise. Quit it, you're embarrassing me. Ha ha ha. Well, we did lose our tournament already. What does he mean by that? And the miracle first years, 3 of you even. Okay, so miracle as in it's a miracle that they even have first years there. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Captain, but we're still total rookies. Hug. You gotta love Hinata's optimism, as one of the players said. I think he's just grateful, and this is such a important foundation for Hinata. A little side story of where it's really important to start with humble beginnings, and even if you have access to great resources, find the cheapest and lowest cost method to learn something before you invest in more expensive resources. I'll give an example. So I taught myself how to play drums, and I got to a level in high school where I actually got paid to record a couple local albums for some bands. I got hired to play at churches, and I would say I was pretty good. So where did I learn that drive, and how did I become a better drummer even though I was self-taught? It's not because I'm naturally talented. I practiced like 7 or 8 hours a day, which also meant my grades weren't very high because I spent so much time playing drums. Okay, not 7 or 8 hours a day, more like 4 or 5 hours a day, realistically. Still a long time. And I remember in middle school, I saw a drummer, and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, I want to play drums. And she said, no. I said, why? She said, because you pick up a hobby, and after 3 months, you move on quickly. So I don't want to waste money on something you're going to forget about in a couple months, which is a very fair argument. I was like, okay, you're right. But I still want to learn how to play drums. So what I did was I built my own drum set. I found an old rusty pedal from the church I was going to at the time. I found broken drumsticks that didn't match, like they were different lengths, and I had to tape one of them together. And then I had a garbage can that I used for my bass drum, and then the other parts for the tom-toms and the snare, I just did pots and pans. And I found some rusty, 2 pieces of rusty metals, and then for my crash cymbal, I put like a boiling pot lid that I hung on a fan. So there's some old school fans that have a stand, and then the fan kind of rotates left and right. I took that fan top off, and I just put the pot lid on there so it kind of hung, and I would hit that as my crash cymbal or my ride cymbal. And I had so much fun. I would put on my headphones and I would just jam away at this ghetto, low-cost drum set. And I literally did that for 6 months, and I had so much fun. And the way I taught myself was my parents, they owned a Laserdisc player, because being Asian, we did karaoke a lot, where you sing along with songs. And a Laserdisc player is the old school, high quality definition format, where before we had CDs, we had these large discs. And they came with music videos. And I remember watching the old bands that my parents would sing along to, which is the Bee Gees, the Beatles, and all these ones. Their live concert performances would actually show images of the drummers playing. Now the camera would only pan to the drummers for like 5 seconds and then go back to the lead singer. But in those 5 seconds, I would rewind it and play those moments in slow motion. And I would mimic the movements. And I would try to mimic the movements and create the same sound as what I saw on the Laserdisc. And I would repeat that like thousands of times. I would literally press rewind with the controller and then try to mimic on the drum set, pause, rewind again. I would do that over and over again. So I just did it by mimicking. On a side note, that's actually how a lot of you who just started playing volleyball because of HAIKYUU started playing volleyball, because you would mimic what you would see in HAIKYUU, then you would watch real volleyball and realize like, wow, it's actually pretty similar. Maybe if I just mimic some of those movements, I can become a volleyball player. So anyways, I taught myself how to play drums. And then after 6 months, my mom was so impressed that she said, you seem pretty serious. I'll give you $500 to buy a drum set. Which was not a lot of money, but it was just enough to buy a decent drum set. So my first drum set was a Pearl Export 5-piece. And man, I treated that thing like a Lamborghini, because my first drum set was pots and pans and a garbage can for the bass drum. And my technique was so good from having to create sound from these terrible surfaces that by the time I had a good drum surface, I was flying. I mean, it just became easy. So anyways, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because the humble beginnings of Hinata really do a great job planting the seed for when he does become this amazing player that came from nowhere, undersized. When he does finally get the opportunity to play with other real volleyball players instead of random athletes, everything is gravy for him. Everything is an amazing experience because it's always going to be better than what he was. And so just being grateful is such an important foundational mindset to have when you're approaching anything, trying to get better at sports, or being part of a sports team. So sorry, that was a really long tangent, but I thought it was relevant to the story. About being seeded the lowest is you're probably going to have to be play against the best. And what's even more unfortunate about the Japanese volleyball tournaments that I learned from watching HAIKYUU is they don't play around. It's single elimination from day one. If you can't cut it, you're gone. In the US, they usually have a bunch of consolation matches, and at least you play a couple matches even if you suck. But man, you could go, I can't imagine that. Yammer, yammer, I'm assuming that's background chatter. Speak of the devil, here they come. Tumph, tumph, tumph. It's Kitagawa Daiichi. Oh, they kept the original Japanese here on the jackets, I like that. Whoa, they're huge. Tromp, tromp. Talk about intimidating. Ah, look. That's him. It's gotta be. Tumph, tumph. I think I might recognize the back of this head. Kageyama, maybe? Let's find out. If you've been enjoying my HAIKYUU videos, please consider supporting Elevate Yourself by signing up for my Patreon, where you receive access to exclusive content like early access to my videos, my private blog, and much more. You can also drop a super thanks below